Welcome everyone. How we doing? Ricky, what's up? Rudy, I see your name. How we doing? Cornbread, what's up? Everybody have a good day today. Oh, unfortunately, Big Sushi Joe just showed up. We're gonna have to shut this thing down. What's up, everyone? How we doing? How we doing? Doing good, Rudy. Good day for me. Nice, Adam. Happy to hear that. Yeah, I like today's topic as well. You know, nice big, nice big breakouts are fun when you can catch them. Unfortunately, I think just a lot of people try to catch them kind of in the wrong way. Ooh, yeah, that'll happen, cornbread. That's sort of just the way them SPX go. That's really, if you're playing that thing, 15 minutes, 15 minutes to close or anything, it's like, even though this does kind of go against what I always teach, man, you basically got to just have them stops at zero and be prepared for it. One candle the wrong direction can absolutely smoke them. So you never want to be heavy on SPX end of day, that's for sure. But if you had a good green day, you got 40, $50 to waste, it can be a fun place to waste it. Yeah, a lot of people have been hating the old sideways lately. But that's my favorite, man. I love anytime you can get range bound, that movement is just so easy. Your risk is so low. And a lot of opportunity if you just sit and wait. But I know that, like most people like trading breakouts. I mean, they don't like they don't, as much as everybody wants to be a scalper, they really don't like the act of scalping. They like trading breakouts. So when breakouts don't come, uh they tend to lose money, unfortunately. Dude, that's the way to do it, Rudy. Welcome everyone. We're gonna give it a few more minutes, of course. Hope we all had a good day. This thing's been putting in a move, huh? What a run off those lows. 100 points in 2 weeks. I haven't even looked at IWM. Oh, it's back to where I care about it. Oh, well, I should probably talk about IWM tonight. Nice sushi. Man, today was the entry though. Or I guess not today. Yesterday. Anytime it gets closest to it too, you got to take the stab. It's that multiple year weekly. That's a nice one. We're going to talk about that. This ain't fun though when you're trying to trade it, huh? That is one advantage to SPY. Since we got a couple of minutes, we'll just chat about it, even though this isn't what we're talking. The big advantage to SPY is that, yes, this type of movement is choppy, but man, you catch a 30-cent candle on SPY in one candle, that's going to pay you 15, 20%, and if you're just shorting these highs, you can hit a bunch of 15, 20%ers in here. And then I was a little early on some today, ended up getting back in, didn't want to do the double put alert though. Unfortunately, I wish I would have, but that's actually a trade we're going to talk about today. Um, Kind of on the beginning part of it, because those things ended up paying, but my entry was too early. I don't remember what it was. I think I was on one of these candles over here. And maybe even earlier, maybe one of these candles back here. And the move did not happen quick enough for us. They ended up paying, but man, you would have had to ride those things minus 40% probably, which I don't like doing. Google, yeah, I was actually just checking it out. I think it's getting ready, but it needs to clear 172. And once we clear 172, then we have this big old 174 up here above us. So I don't think it's quite breakout ready. A chart a friend sent me was this, which I mean, I don't disagree with it. I do think that it's something to take note of, and you could potentially try to play this breakout here, but we got a couple of things that might slow it down a little bit. Like you said, I do like the inside candles. We're setting up for a move, but do we think it's going to be a push back to highs, or do we think it's going to be a push down to lows? And while I don't necessarily think it's going to push back down to lows, I will say that the risk reward is better short up here than long to me. But if you're in them 3 weeks out, I like that. I'd have my stop, somewhere down around these lows, 166, something, anything like that. But if we can get that nice push up, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say target 175 necessarily, considering that's all-time highs, so we would have to set a new all-time high. And you always want to keep those targets realistic, at least in my opinion. Yep, Raphael, we're gonna talk about that one because I unfortunately alerted those in my tab. I mean, for a $4 loss, as long as you followed the stop, and if you didn't follow the stop, thankfully they came back for you. But you would have had to see minus 40% to make 20%, which that's pretty bad trade. But we're gonna talk about that trade and how I traded it today, just because I mean, I even said it in my tab. I had a feeling I had a loser coming. I was like, 12 for 12 in that thing. So it was time to have one show up, unfortunately. But thankfully, $4 loss, no big deal. But let's see, got one more thing to do. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Got a few more of you showing up now. Hope we all had some good days. Was a good, decent one for me. I ended up doing like 3 for 4 or something, and then I basically called it. Yeah, somewhere right around here. Yep, Rudy, that's a great thing to do. I even was talking to Talia about it and said, it sucks that I had to alert a stop out. But the thing that I had brought up to him was, thankfully it was a $4 stop out. People got to see how I trade, keep that loss real tiny. And then, just follow your rules. That's all you can do. However, same feelings. Had I just had the next day expiration, I was not going to stop out on a little move against me. I don't remember. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I entered let's see, somewhere right around here. And then I just took that stop on one of these next candles. And unfortunately, this chop, I mean, never went green again through all of this. That's just, way that it goes. And in reality, let's see. Oh, I guess, see, I alerted them. Let's see, I had to look. I alerted them on this candle, one of these two candles. I actually saw a couple of bucks, but I knew people didn't have time to get in, and I wasn't going to trim for $3, So on this next little push up, you just got to take that stop. My thought was stops on a close above that. And, we got the close. We technically got the close above it, even though it's an ugly candle. Still didn't go back to profit here, but eventually paid nice here. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Happy to have you here, Dirty River. Tonight we are going to be talking breakouts. In the beginning, we're just going to kind of talk about, some of my thoughts on trading breakouts, things to look for, things to avoid if you can. And then we're going to kind of go into some of the different types of breakout trading, whether you're trading, bigger time frame, swing trading stuff, or just kind of intraday breakouts, maybe pre-market highs, pre-market low breaks, and when I say breakout, break up, break down, doesn't matter, just break, break a level is what we're going to be talking about today. And then we're gonna look at a few names that I have my eye on right now, that I think have some breakout potential, things that maybe want to put in moves up or down or whatever it might be. Or maybe even a couple of them are at a point, or at least one of them is at a point where I think is going to provide a really nice trade, either up or down. We don't know which it's going to be just yet, but uh, I want to be prepared for both sides. As most of you know, that's always how I trade. Big part of any trade plan, I think, is looking at both sides of it, saying, are we going to go up or are we going to go down, and who has more power? Do the Bulls have more things in their favor? Do bears have more things in their favor? What is it? And just kind of trying to trade around that. And so with that, we're going to start just kind of talking breakouts, things that I look for, some ideas that I have behind them. As most of you know, you all come to my lectures all the time. I like statistics in the market, repeatable things that have been tested over and over and over again. I'm not one of those people that tells you, you need to back test a strategy for like 3 years or whatever before you actually take trades with it. But I'm a big believer in looking into people that have done the research and have, compiled data over time. And the main one that I talk about all the time, obviously Al Brooks. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about him. But one of his big statistics is that 80% of breakouts fail. And so that's a statistic that I like to use. I use it in my trading almost every single day. It's something that I will look into. And why do I think that's important is because, and we were kind of touching on this in the beginning of class, is that everybody, especially newer traders, are almost exclusively hunting breakouts. They want breakouts. They want the big paydays. They want to, hold trades all day long and swing trades, and they want to see those big gains. But as we see with a lot of people, a lot of swing traders take some big losses. They do hit big, but they hit some, big wins every once in a while, but they hit some very, very large losses. And part of that comes from that statistic of 80% of breakouts fail. That means 80% of the time, 4 out of 5 times, if you take a trade trying to catch a breakout and you aren't waiting for the right things, that trade's likely going to go against you. And it's going to go against you in a big way, you guys hear me talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter if you're swing trading, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You always need to have stops in mind. Even if you got a few weeks on a contract, so you widen that stop out a little bit. Well, then you really need to respect it, and you need to understand that, when you widen a stop, you are increasing risk, and you need to see if the reward on the other side of that trade can actually sustain that risk, something that I say all the time, and this isn't to like attack anybody. If all your trades are going minus, you know, 30, 40, 50% before seeing profit, that very likely tells you that your entries need work. And something that I even said it in my tab today. I called myself out for it. We all do it sometimes. But you need to be able to admit you're wrong. Is if you're early, you're wrong. That's actually a quote from the Nigerians. They're like, there's some of the few like really big name traders that actually focus pretty heavily on the derivative markets, specifically options. The Nigerians are really, really amazing options traders. They have some really, really good ideas. They never get caught up in the rhetoric of like, oh, the market's flying, so we bring bullish people on CNBC. They just trade the chart that's in front of them. There are also some people that I learned a lot about volatility from, not trading volatility per se, but the actual volatility indicators, whether it's VIX, VIX, or I mostly watch the futures /VX on Thinkorswim, because I think the futures one is just slightly more accurate. And so I love to listen to those guys, and that's their quote. If you're early, you're wrong. And so what do they mean by that? And why are we talking about it tonight? And we're talking about it tonight because that phrase does not apply to anybody more than it does a swing trader. Everybody always wants to catch the bottom, the long at the bottom or the shorts at the top, especially swing traders. They're always looking for the big moves. They're always looking for those kinds of things. The joke amongst big money folks is that all swing traders know how to do is swing for the fences, but they miss the ball a lot. And so that's what we're going to try to work on tonight, and things to look for actually trading breakouts, how to properly trade a breakout. We're going to start with intraday stuff, short time frame. You can call them scalps, but generally when you're looking for these kinds of things, you're looking for a bigger move. You aren't looking for a 1 to 2 candle move or anything like that. You really are looking to see a bigger move. We're going to talk about SPY today, and some things that you can look for intraday that can offer some pretty good trades. And so we'll just start on today's chart. We might go, hunting for some other things that were, other situations that we might be able to trade. But I always like to use charts and show you just real life applications. I'm going to take a couple of these indicators off, just to make it a little bit easier to see. So trading intraday stuff, super simple, but people make it super difficult because, like we just discussed, they want, they want to catch the big moves. They want to catch the aggressive things, aggressive trade all day sort of things. They'll say, oh, this chop is killing me, but they'll ignore the fact that SPY basically grinded straight up about $4 today. I mean, that's a pretty nice move on SPY, but they call it chop. But some things to look for, one breakout trade that I love, and this is actually an Al Brooks idea, is kind of watching this first candle of the day. Seeing if, the first candle or two sets a high, sets a new high for you. And so that's what we have in these first two candles. We have some highs set that are then rejected down. Well, when we set a low, this is just kind of a very, very simple, repeatable trade that you can do over and over again. Something that I like to look for every day. Like I said, this is kind of an Al Brooks idea. If you And he calls it breakout mode. It can happen on 1 candle, 2 candle, 3 candles. My rule of thumb is I like it to be kind of, 5 or 6 candles of the day. And so this is actually a trade that I took today. That's why I want to talk about this type of breakout. We set an early high and reverse down. We set an early low and reverse back up, and then actually break this high. So now for me, I am looking for a breakout trade. This is what Al Brooks calls breakout mode. So breakout mode has kind of been activated here. And then, so how would you enter a trade like this? As all of you know, you don't want to buy calls here. Here's your breakout candle. There's not a worse place on the chart to buy calls. Sure, did you get paid a couple of candles later? Yeah, but your stop would have had to been, and this is just how I would be trading this. This is how I traded it today. Your stop would have had to been this 9 EMA. So you have this very, very wide stop. You have resistance right overhead. That's not where you want to look to buy. And so you're going to see that this type of breakout, this type of logic applies to all time frames. When we go to swing trade talking, we're going to kind of talk about the same thing. Well, we have our breakout. So now we know breakout mode is activated. So when you're trying to trade a breakout or trying to trade a trending market, you don't, generally speaking, want to buy tops of candles. You want to look for pullbacks to buy. So that's exactly what I did today. I knew I didn't want to buy this candle because my stop would be the 9 EMA. So I waited until right here, and we're going to remove the box. I waited until right here. I guess I'll put a line so we can, identify where the breakout is. This is our breakout level. I waited until this 9 EMA, knowing that, as always, have a plan. I got the 20 EMA below me. I got VWAP below me. I have support below me. If it starts getting really ugly, my stop is going to be 30 cents or so below this level. But I know I have support. So breakout mode activated by this pullback. Then next candle gives us a really, really nice bounce up to this level. obviously this is where you want to be trimming and bumping your stop above entry. Um, Now we're trading the breakout, so we can, this isn't just a scalp. Like I said, this isn't, this isn't, uh, you know, it can be, and it ended up, I mean, I obviously trimmed on this very first candle. It can end up being a very nice, quick pain scalp. However, I was pretty convinced that we had this major level up here. This is the 5200 level on SPX, obviously a big one. I've talked it, Tilio's talked it. Tilio's level's a little below at 5197, I believe he was watching, but nice solid 5200 on SPX. That was what my main target was, looking for a more sustained move to the upside. Obviously, we had a breakout here, so I buy the pullback. We have another breakout here that ends up pushing really nice. So when we have broken this high, this offers, one of two things: a really great place to trim. Then when we push, that is where you bump your stop to. You're going to want to have, we don't want to level, you're going to want to, always be trailing your stops up on any of these trades. Now you bump your stop out to the new breakout point. Well, because we've pushed all the way up here, you can just scoot it to the 5200 SPX. And so I was all out right here, unfortunately. I caught a little bit of this candle up and then I was out of this trade. Then I began to just watch the market. At that point, I'd hit one nice trade. The next thing that I was looking for, as all of you know, the opening range. And so we're going to talk a little bit of opening range today because, it uh, it is just a wonderful, I think that's the 8 o'clock candle. Oops. It is a wonderful tool and a wonderful application of, the most breakouts fail. 80% of breakouts fail. And so when we know that 80% of breakouts fail, that is why basically every single day, if you go into my tab at, around 11 o'clock Eastern time, you're going to see a post and it's going to be a picture of the opening range. And if we're at the bottom of it, I'm, nicely saying I'm not short. And if we're at the top of it, I'm nicely saying I'm not long. I know that 80% of breakouts fail. So to me, the risk just isn't there. The breakout of this is, 4 out of 5 times, statistically speaking, not going to happen. So as you know, I like to use those statistics in my trading. So actually, a trade that I took today, and we're gonna, well, second trade of the day, and we're gonna talk about it because I alerted it in my tab, and unfortunately, it was a stop out. But somewhere right around here, I alerted some puts. So, one of these candles, somewhere up here, I alerted these puts right here. And then I said, in my tab, very high risk, because we had strong buying. The market had gone basically straight up a couple of bucks by this point, even more than that. So we had strong buying. So you're fighting the trend. However, my thought was most breakouts fail. So we're breaking this 5200 SPX. To me, that was something that needed to be retested. Unfortunately, we hit these puts. I think if I look at my tab, I alerted them. Yeah, right around here on basically, the top middle of this candle, something like this, planning on the opening range being set in the next few minutes. And then unfortunately, we got this little pop, candle closed outside of the opening range. So that is my stop out. That's my plan on a trade like that. Most breakouts fail, so I'm taking the stab. Well, that doesn't change my plan. And so that was, you could see in my tab, I ended up saying, taking the stop out here. No big deal. We have candle closing, taking the stop out outside of the candle, 38 bucks. We lost $4 on those contracts. And I was worried for a pop. We did end up getting this nice pop, ultimately sold. If you held through all of this, you didn't go green, because of where we got them. This was just too much time, too much sideways action. You didn't go green. But then we again get a look at the idea of most breakouts fail. So failure, 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 failure. Finally get a trend break. When we have this trend break here, this is where I took my next entry. Felt bad, should have alerted it in the tab. However, didn't want to, encourage people to short the market, get stopped out 2 candles later, and then 5 candles later, short it again. If you don't know what you're doing, a lot of the time that is really, really going to hurt you. And so this is when I took the next entry. Here, I was wrong. I was expecting this breakout to not happen. It ended up not happening. However, I was dead wrong. So I took the stop. I was too early. This goes back to all breakout trading, whether you're playing rejections or breakouts, goes back to all breakout trading. Well, then we get to zoom out and kind of look at big picture. Again, I'm always going to use the opening range. And when we look at it in a bigger picture, here was our first real attempted breakout with a failure. Here was our second. Here was our third. And then, try again. This is our fourth with another failure. Fifth time is the charm. So if you were watching this, we had 4 attempted breaks, came back on our 5th breakout, even gave, and I didn't catch this trade. I would have taken this trade every single time. 5th attempt getting out of this thing, giving me a retest back to it. Your stop is cents below you. You're risking 10 cents on this trade. Granted, you're getting into end of day, so any SPY contracts, anything like that, have a pretty decent chance of getting beat up if it does go against you. Same as SPX, obviously. However, if you take this breakout retest, trading next day contracts, anything like that, then you end up catching this nice move, that push to 520 in the after hours. Really, really great move if you were able to capitalize on it. So that is how I will sit and be patient. Like I said, 1 try, 2 try, 3 tries, 4 tries, all with failures back inside. That's why I look at this as a whole thing. Early in the day, I'll be looking at individual candles. Later in the day, I will start to look at big picture and say, okay, the market has been trying this all day. Will it finally do it now? And so that's how I'm going to trade those intraday breakouts. I wanted to give 2 examples of it today. Whether you're breaking just these first couple candles, and that's your breakout. Stops back below into it. Buy any of those pullbacks on this first breakout of the day. Can work the other way on breakdowns as well. And then if you're wrong, your risk is very low. That's why, don't buy tops of candles. Your stop is where we're trying to buy, and so trade them like that. And so that's how, intraday stuff, that's what I'm looking at every single day when I post to my charts, anything like that. That's what I'm looking for. I use this same type of trading on all things. I will always use multiple forms of confirmation. Are we breaking out? Do we have EMA supporting us? Are we above support? Are we above or, under resistance? Whatever I'm trying to do. If I'm trading something like SPY or QQQ, are we starting to see buyers show up on, your Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, those kinds of things? If you're seeing buyers there and you're starting to, look for this, we have 4 failures, so that's 80%. Are we looking for the 20% chance of breakout here? And do we see the market wanting to break out? Then it's worth taking that step, at least in my opinion. So that's intraday. We're going to go to more swing trading stuff now. I guess I better go through this. Yeah, nice Rudy on those taking the next days. Coin, everybody talking coin. I'll just pull it up because somebody just asked me about it. I have exactly 0 interest to trade coin right here. I mean, it's in the dead center of the wedge. This thing could dump to 180 or it could rip to 223. We don't know which way it's going to go, so I got no interest in coin here. Oh, swing, you entered puts, but then you didn't stop out. What made you not want to stop out? I mean, I guess you got a couple of weeks time, but what made you not want to stop out there? Sushi, when you asked the who, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, kind of touched on that, Raphael. That on that pullback, this VWAP test also obviously really, really good. Market also setting a higher low. There's a lot of reasons to buy this pullback right here for sure. So that's why I want to talk about it. Oh, what? We got Flips in the house, dude. He just pops in and says hi and then disappears though. Yep, we lost him. Well, thanks for being here, Flips. Yeah, Raphael, zoom out. And isn't that just a really nice prime example of, hey, zoom out. Always zoom out. Always zoom out. That's the thing. Yep, breakout retest. When you get that breakout and you get the retest, and don't get me wrong, I get, just to like point out some things here. We had, if you were just looking at these, you could have looked at this as a breakout retest, caught a bounce, breakout retest, caught a bounce. Well, then this one would have stopped you out if you're following your rules for basically no loss. Then I'm not saying you should keep trying again and again and again if you've been wrong over and over, but when you get another one, you can try these ones for bounces as well. Stop out, tiny loss. That's why I like trading around these breakout levels is when you're wrong, you're wrong. So you just stop out of the trade, like I did back here, like lose $4. I'm happy I took a try. This next one ended up working obviously, but I'll risk $4 to try every single time. Okay, and with that, we are going to get into more kind of swing trading breakout stuff. This, of course, applies to intraday as well, because the things that you're looking for entries are obviously going to be best viewed on some of those shorter time frames, like 5 minute, 15 minute, those kinds of things. That's where you're going to want to be most of the time looking for your entries. You of course want to watch if you're trying to swing trade. Hey, how are those hourly candles closing? How are those 4-hour candles closing? Are buyers winning, sellers winning, whatever it may be. You always want to keep your eye on those, but I'm going to analyze, short time frame, long time frame, everything. I'm treating it basically the same. So one that I'm watching right now, one that I think a lot of people are watching is AMD. We've had multiple trends. I cleared my chart for this class. We've had multiple trends. We had this one originally, then we've kind of bumped it to this one, and now this is the trend that I am personally watching. This was our really first. We attempted to set. We attempted to break out. If we're talking breakouts here, we attempted to break out here and we're unable to do it. However, how I'm watching AMD right now, we're kind of looking to get into breakout mode. Then something that I'm always going to pull up is going to be these SMAs. I love the SMAs. I actually saw somebody asking this. I didn't answer because we're going to talk it right now. I love SMAs on longer time frames. I won't deny that things like the 200, things like that on short time frames can be super powerful. I mean, I trade the hourly 20 a lot. That short time frame 200 SMA can actually be a really, really good tool for kind of intraday bias. If we're above it, that means, if we're above the 200 SMA, that is pretty good sign that bulls are in control. If we're below it, that's pretty good sign that bears are in control. That's of course an extreme generalization, but I think that it's a really, really, they can be a very powerful tool. I personally have just used the EMAs on short time frames forever. So that's where I prefer them. Also because I do a lot more scalping and day trading. I like an SMA is a simple calculation. You take the close of the candles, you add them all together and divide by how many there are. An EMA actually puts some emphasis on recent price action and volatility in the calculation. And so I like the EMAs on shorter time frames personally. But so AMD right now, looking like it potentially wants to break out. So always got to look for some, your supports, your resistances. Is there any gaps? Hopefully Mike's not in here. Is there any gaps in play? Anything like that? Do we have any major whole numbers? And we do, we have this major 150 right here. And then obviously, where are we going to be targeting? Kind of any of these, highs that we're looking for, are any of them pretty major? And so to me, when I'm looking at this trade, potentially looking to play this breakout on AMD, I am slightly feeling like I missed it already. I definitely would have loved the 150 entry today myself, because then you could already be up a couple of bucks off of it, and doing nice. However, you always want to look at everything going on. And so we kind of have a couple of ways to play this right now. If AMD pulls back to that 150, pulls back to this trend, obviously that is going to be the lowest risk, potentially highest reward trade. We have filled the gap. So, the bear gap was instantly filled. And filled up and down technically. So we can be looking to get long here. The major thing that we have in our way is going, I want to put one more level on here, is going to be, this is this dark blue line right here. Hopefully you can all see it, is the 20 SMA. So that is going to, in my opinion, kind of be our second best entry. If there's another dip down to here, that 150 area, that trend, just stops below it. 149, risk a buck of downside on this thing. Looking for final target, $8 of upside. So that is going to be the ideal entry. Second best entry is going to be a break and hold of this daily 20. If we can get above that daily 20 as we're going into the end of the day, that 30 minutes before close when most funds are checking out, not a lot going on, you'll see the insane algo and market on close volume, at the end of the day on candles every single day. But most of that is, not really being run by traders. That's just kind of computers settling up at the end of the day. So if we can kind of see that we're going to be closing the end of the day over this, I'm going to start to look for that breakout up to 158. Obviously you always want to watch a 160, but all the way up to this next high up here, I do think AMD kind of been a laggard. It's got its earnings out of the way. It's had buyers off of its earnings. So AMD definitely one that is on breakout watch for me, especially this is a big major downtrend. We've tried, as we discussed, there was other trends going on. Well, this is our most recent trend. We seem to be breaking and retesting it. So definitely AMD on breakout watch for me. If you are looking for a short trade, you can obviously watch this 20. Rejection back down to the 150 area, but that's going to be more of a scalp. This isn't, something where I would be swinging short on it personally. I mean, my kidding, swinging short on chips is just terrifying, so I just don't do it. I tend to always be looking to buy the dips on these kinds of things. And I think AMD offering a really nice, potential breakout dip buy right here. So next one that we're going to talk about, very different looking chart, Apple. So Apple obviously, obviously broken out, no denying it. Those earnings were put in a very big move for them. Very big move, broke out of the trend. So now we want to start looking at where can some of our potential upside targets be? Where should any of our stops be? Any of these major SMAs, what do we have below us? And so this one, Apple for me, a nice big strong buying on it today. Apple for me, this is where I'm obviously really into trading trends, trade trends a lot. They've worked for 100 years, probably not going to stop anytime soon. We have this little micro trend right here that we're breaking out of. We bought basically to exactly where you think the buying would stop today. We felt like 30 cents short, something like that. But that is going to be where I want to trade around today or tomorrow. That 184.80 area, break above there, I think that this 186 comes real quick. Above there, we start pushing that 190, 191 area for the true breakout. This one, multiple potential opportunities for trading. You can wait for the safe break over this 184.80, 185 area and look for that swing up to 187. Also, intraday, you can watch for any sort of weakness. It doesn't matter if you watch the tape, if you watch volume, whatever you want to watch, any sort of potential weakness, and you can look to potentially scalp that short back down to this trend. Stops just above it. Very, very low risk, high reward trade. The other option, wait for any dip on this trend, dip us back to this hour daily 200 SMA, obviously huge level. 181 area, this is, I think Apple is kind of in dip buy mode all the way down to about 181. I'm not saying hammer and average contracts all day, every day, look for dips to buy, but potential dip buys all the way down. The final way to trade it, and it's something that you'll hear people like me and Tilio talk about all the time, is waiting. And we say paying the premium. And what do we mean by paying the premium is when we're working on a little micro breakout right here, we have this previous resistance, maybe we get that break above it. It offers you a nice, couple dollar trade. Well, this one offers you a nice $4 trade. So if you can wait for this breakout to potentially happen, then when that breakout comes, treat it the exact same way. Any sort of retest for a push to highs, tight stops on it. And so that's how you want to trade these breakout trades. As I said, if you're trying to look to swing trade, which we're looking at here, a lot of these are going to be longer term swing trades. If you're looking to swing trade, you need to buy that time and you need to identify your stops. Because maybe you buy 3 weeks of time, but maybe something bad happens. Maybe something bad happens and you need to stop out of the trade. I don't care if you have 3 weeks time. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you're say we break this 184 level, and so you get long, we have an hourly close over it, you get long, you're looking for this push to highs. Well, if your stop is a close below that level on the daily, you take your stop. Right or wrong, you want to take your stop. And so Apple for me, I'm just looking at it, not insane volume or anything like that, but we're seeing a big increase in buying volume off of this 200, big buying over this trend. I think Apple offering, some nice potential dip buys in my opinion. So hopefully we got that. Let's see. Yep. John, breakout retest, greatest thing ever. Yep. Theta, we answered the EMA SMA question. Rudy, remind me on DraftKings at the end while I give it a checkout here. Ants shorted Apple, classic. Of course he did. He loves to short things on Big Old Strong. Like this, what a day to pick to short it. We had 47 million buyers and 1.7 million sellers. So what a day. Well, I mean, the market is volatile, but you need to remember is that, well, Apple's kind of the fluke, but the market has been going up. I mean, dip buying has still been prevailing over and over and over again. But depending which on your watch list, if you're watching things like, some of those growth names or just, I mean, let's be real here. A lot of people just watch straight up pump and dumps. Those are not helping you. If you're trading these big names, though, they're all giving us pretty obvious moves most days. But shoot me your watch list and let's see if it's just some funny things on there. Okay, final one I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to try to go for a couple, hopefully, of yours. Give me 1 second. Amazon, one of my favorite ones to trade, especially the mega caps. Of course, it used to be a lot more fun in when it was the $3,000 stock. But nowadays I like it because it's nice and slow and it's friendly. So obviously, main thing we need to be watching is kind of this previous all-time high right here. I think it's all-time high. Yep, just a touch over. So that was our little previous all-time high right there. Oops. That is the level that everybody should have their eyes on. So this one is a really interesting setup to me. And this is the one that I was talking about. We are looking at potential breakout and we are looking at potential breakdown. There are both moves to be played off of here. What I am currently looking at, as I said, is obviously this previous all-time high level. 189.77 is what it's supposed to be. Yep, 189.77. Any breaks above that, I'm going to be looking to scalp long. I don't like swinging into all-time highs. I mean, it's sure you can catch a really nice move up, but then as we saw today, nice moves up can get quickly clobbered down by a couple few bucks. So I don't like to be on the swing end of those things, giving up these daily highs or previous daily highs. I don't like being on the swing end long of things like this. What I am more taking note of is that we have some nice kind of downside levels to potentially target around here. I obviously don't think we're going back to 166, but we have the SMAs kind of going sideways, which is showing us, momentum's kind of slowing down on this thing. We're setting a nice little range right here, kind of in no man's land for trading, in my opinion. However, if we can look to get this breakdown, I do kind of like Amazon on the short swing. The other thing, and I'm just kind of quickly charting this for what I'm looking at. So the other thing that I like is we're getting a trend break off of this strong buying going on here. I think that the 190-ish level kind of offering a very, very nice short opportunity. I'm not saying, get months of time, look for some real big drop on Amazon, but if we can continue to sustain or continue to be unable to break and hold this 190 area, I do think a retrace is likely coming. Do we make it all the way down to this SMA to really reset it? I don't know about that. But I think that it could offer a very nice little short opportunity. Like I said, I don't like to swing short most of the time, especially in like the market is super bullish. Like if you're bearish, you're wrong. Don't get me, like I'm not trying to say anything like that, but Amazon kind of offering a potential little short opportunity. The one other thing that I want to point out is, most of like I don't trade patterns. I don't do like, flags and rising wedges or whatever. I just think of things like trends. But one pattern I do trade, I guess technically two patterns, double tops and double bottoms. And there is no denying that we could be setting a double top up here on Amazon. Again, not looking for huge downside, but offering a nice, little, obviously, rejection point for us to trade along. The only other thing that I think people should be watching for is, and people always like ask about these. I guess I'll do them that way. No, we want to be able to see them. So give me 1 second. People always ask, how do you trade up here? And so a way that I like to look for levels when we're up at all-time high is to use fibs. And so what I did here, this is a Fibonacci extension. So we just went from this low to this high. And so if we double this up, if they do what's called a measured move. So you measure this move, this is that same move, 100% of that same move. If we start trading above this area, and you could even put I think it's like 13, whatever fib, 12 something fib down here if you want one more level. If we start breaking above this area, these are what I will likely be targeting because we don't have any other thing to work with. However, we're below trend. We even kind of retested the breakdown of the trend today, sold off below it. I think this can be traded anyway, basically around that 190 area, whether you're looking for the breakout up to at least 195 or that breakdown to 185-ish area. Amazon offering some really nice trades to be had. We've also had 3 great days of consolidation. I'm not going to say that we're going to make a big move tomorrow necessarily. It is Friday, so we could see a little bit more movement going into the weekend. But I do think by next week with CPI, PPI, we should start to see some nicer moves. And so with that, oh no, I do have one more. But those are breakouts or breakdowns that I'm looking for on Amazon. Hopefully we covered all those. Oh, look, Rodrigo is asking about Amazon. Yep, broke all-time high, but ultimately failed it. So now you have my answer on Amazon. Final one I'm looking at. I normally wouldn't talk about this, but it's NVIDIA. And I don't like trading this thing personally, obviously. It's just not really my style. We kind of rejected exactly where we should. However, I was just taking note of today that this 875 area, it could have even been the dip today to that 881. This 875 area, finally getting back above the, getting that 50 SMA pointed, nice and up, getting the 20 SMA to try to curl up on us. This 50 SMA 875 area, nice support for us. You know, we've had big rejections off it, big breaks above it. That's kind of looking dip by time to me. You are going to be risking it, no denying that we have this like short-term downtrend going here, but looking for that 875 back up to that 887 area, that's a real nice bounce. You can't fight that. So I just wanted to kind of point that one out to people. I know a lot of people like to trade Nvidia a lot more than I do. But I think any dips down to, you know, that 880 down to 876, 877 area, probably a real nice place to be trying to get long on that thing. Okay, and so that is it for me. Uh, if anybody's got now, and this worked out perfect, we actually got 14 minutes. I was hoping we'd be able to cover a couple of things for you guys. I know Rudy asked me DraftKings, so we're gonna hit that one real quick. Let's see. I'm gonna need some longer time frames. Ooh, are you like playing? I mean, you could be playing. What's that look like on the daily? I think you said you're already in this. Rudy, will you tell me what you're doing on this again? Since I pulled it up. Let's see. I'm gonna put that SMA level on there, put these highs, put those highs. We're actually gonna run this little trendy here too. Look at that. Bouncing where it's supposed to. I mean, that actually offered a nice little X marks the spot long down there for the first bounce, huh? Um, I mean, holding above this 50 SMA right here. I mean, if you're long on this thing, we are, you know, technically in a range here. And I don't love trades in the middle of the range, but if you just treat that 50 SMA as your line in the sand, you're long above it, looking up to 45, 60, you know, these highs. Awesome. Even short back down to the trend at 42, 44 area, both offering really nice low risk, low reward trades. Yeah, great. I think that's a great one. And then again, if we're able to get up here, reclaim these 45, 60s, then there's just, you know, because this is just a crappy growth name. There's not much resistance to run us back up to this 50-ish area. So if we get above the 45, 60 area, that thing could definitely look to get moving, in my opinion. Nice eye, Rudy. Good one. I actually really kind of like that. I like that one. Let's see, we talked that. SMH. And for anybody who doesn't know, this is that semiconductor ETF. This was actually, I'm happy somebody brought this up because this was another thing that I was taking note of, breaking out on it. That is why I'm kind of looking to dip by on both AMD and NVIDIA. I don't remember what the total holdings are, but NVIDIA is a huge holding in SMH. And so nice little dip down to that 50, holding that trend. This is a slightly more expensive one, so I would have liked the entry a little bit closer to this trend down here. But if you're looking for a longer swing trade breakout on chips, you can afford to widen that stop out down to this trend, or you know, you want to buy as close as you can to it, and then really kind of target these highs over here, looking for any sort of, you know, movement back towards that 240. Not going to say it's going to start working really good, but I like this area to be getting long on SMH for sure. You know, stops are tight, couple few bucks below you. That will be a big percentage on the contract, you know. So plan accordingly, even if you want to take the small entry now. But seeing it close above that 50 SMA to me is good. Very sideways. Yeah, when this thing gets to breaking, it's gonna want to go. But if you're in a long swing, a day like this, you don't even look at the chart. You just move on and look at other things, you know. Oh, IWM. Nice one on SMH. Who said that? Theta. Yeah, good eye. Good eye. Thank you for reminding me on that. And then yeah, Joe, I hadn't looked at this one. So for anybody who knows, we talked about this in class. IWM, multi-year consolidation on the weekly. You know, attempted breakout, failed it. Your attempted breakout with a failure for the first one, attempted breakout with a failure for the second one, attempted breakout with a failure for the third one. We're now on to the fourth one. I'm hoping that I didn't miss this trade, but these dips down to 202.30 have just been, obviously one time worked really poorly, but these dips down to that 202.30, 202 area have been paying really, really nice. I'll be looking for any sort of dip back down to there to be getting long on IWM. I do think it's hard because these things still depend on, these are a rate trade, so they still need rate cuts. And as we kind of got some rhetoric from a couple of the Feds saying, oh, rate cuts are still on the table, then we started to see buying it again. When we were getting the bad news and we had like the non-voting members saying that there won't be rate cuts, we had some selling on it. But any dip down to this 202.30, I mean, even looking at that, having that hour or daily 50 SMA right there, wonderful dip buy opportunity. Costco, huh? What do we got on Costco? Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, I mean, what do we got here? I mean, it's not one I would be chasing long, but that 787 is kind of going to be that point to watch for another breakout. I'm sure people trying to call this a cup and handle or something. Um, hmm. I mean, let's see. And did this? Well, if you were looking to play Costco long, which I personally wouldn't be, but if you were, um, really that 778 would be about the dip buy. I mean, we filled the gap now. We got earnings coming, so we could see some push into earnings. I mean, 778 area for that long, and then really just to stop, back into the gap, 770, I don't know, 775-ish, something like that, a daily close down at 775, get out of that thing. But nice little potential upside, $5 risk for $10 of upside. That's not too bad. Well, one risk, two reward trade, man, $2 up or $10 upside. I'll pay you real nice on that. Good eye. Who said that one? Dominic, good eye on Costco. And then break back down into this gap. You can try to short it down to 773, 770 area. And then if we really get to selling, we don't have much data in here. 763 probably. I mean, you can see some selling down to there if you want to try to short it off the highs. Starbucks, gap fill for my guy Mo. That's what I heard. Blueprint Mo. Thing wants to get in some buying, huh? He's early on his gap fill. That's where the gap starts. We got old gap here. Now this is the new gap. I mean, get that thing over 77 and I'd honestly be looking to play that gap fill as well. I mean, do we even have any? Let's see. Yeah, 77 should be that sort of line in the sand. This isn't necessarily a breakout trade or anything like that. This is going to be a gap fill trade if it comes, and just hope you get to moving through that thing. Definitely not chasing it here though. Just a buck below that gap. I mean, I got no interest in chasing it. Ooh, got their divvy coming. I typically don't like to be long after divvies for a few days, so that's another thing to take note of. That'll be coming out the 16th. So always be cautious of the divvy. You can see some buying into it and some selling after it as people, take their money. ENPH is still a company? Weird. Ooh, throttled, huh? Yeah, this is another one, similar action to coin, when things are just in the middle of a couple of trends. I mean, I mean, that gap is filled as far as I'm concerned. When things are just in the middle like this, I just don't personally trade them. Because sure, it can bounce up to that lower trend, or it can dump or the higher trend, or it can dump to this lower trend. Too much indecision. This is just too much sideways movement. If we start getting down to these trends, I'd look to buy calls, or up here to this trend, 200 SMA, I'd short that thing. But not the sector I'm looking to be long on personally. Uh, Coin. We talked this one earlier. Exact same setup. I mean, yes, it's holding support here. I think if it breaks, though, you're going to see that 200 like instantly and get obliterated. Sure, it can bounce up to this SMA, but when I see this, like, not only are we in trends, but we're also in range right here. I got very little interest in trading coin right here personally. And coming off the back of earnings, if we haven't seen a nice dramatic move, then the market doesn't even know what it wants to do with it. Hood. What's Hood doing? Sold the whole ER move, huh? Nice, Hood. Wow. Mm, so Hood, I don't really want to talk about. I followed the 3-day rule pretty strictly. Um, I after a candle like this, the market has no idea what it wants to do with Hood. I thought that it put up decent earnings. Am I wrong? Oh yeah. I mean, it smoked earnings. That's weird. Um, but too much indecision for me. Give this thing a few days. If you want to dip by down here at 1650 with the stops below it, great. Otherwise, I don't really have any interest in it right now. PLTR probably going to zero. Look at that thing. Down to the last line of defense right here. Um, if you're a PLTR bull, hopefully you sold the highs. But it gives that 20. We'll go to that 2033, and then below there, look out below. This thing will fill that this thing will fill that gap. Oh look, that was a good MMA call out for once. Um you could, I mean, okay, I don't like BLTR, but 2033, good place to try to catch a double bottom on this thing for one of those volatile bounces it likes to do. But then that's not a chart that I personally want to be long on. I mean, it can do it can do crazy things, but uh that's not a chart I want to be long on. Oh, we got empanada in here too. Nike. Let's clear it up. Nike. Um Big curl on that SMA, huh? So there must be some sort of buying going on. Got that trend break. Let's get some levels around here. A lot of gaps on charts, huh? Uh, that old gap is filled. Let's get into here. Man. I mean, I don't love this consolidation right here, like in trying to get long on it. But if I was gonna try to get long a little bit early on Nike, kind of the spot. I mean, for that first time, and God, look at this. I mean, for the first time since I guess we had a little pop back in January, but like we're seeing a nice curl on this 20 SMA on it for the first time in quite a while. I mean, last strong up on it was middle end of last year. I think that that's kind of a place to take a stab at for short term, I would only be targeting this maybe 95 level. But if you want to do take that risk, your stop is God only going to be maybe, I mean, I just stopped below 93 really. So your stop's only going to be 40 cents below you. And look for that 70-cent move up and then eventually 96.29. I think that's a nice one. What do I think of the long term? Nike is just one I like long term. I mean, the Nikes aren't going anywhere. It's one of those companies. This 90 obviously kind of a pretty nice dip by point. But I don't hate an entry on it here. You can even, I mean, I wasn't gonna chart this because it's not like dramatic, but it is technically setting some higher lows for the first time in quite some time. So really dips down to that trend, can be purchased. And then I mean, an entry here is not bad with the tight stop, and then look for that dip all the way back down to the 90 area. But nice one, Empanada. I actually like that. What's the volume doing? I mean, we got some volume. We do unfortunately have kind of the volume still just dying off on this attempted breakout, which is unfortunate. But that next big volume day where we're able to break out of this, I bet you're very likely going to see a pretty nice move on it. Any other moving averages? So not simple moving averages, but another one that I really, really love for longer term swing trades is this, and these are actually EMAs, the 12 and the 50. But how I trade the 12 and the 50, this isn't a good chart for it. Let's find another one. How I trade the 12 and the 50, this one also not a good chart for it, is I like to trade the crosses on it more than anything else. Let's see, Apple. Still not a good chart for it. Oh, Coke. I think Coke just put in a nice cross. So 12 and the 50 EMA. I like to trade the crosses on it. These are a daily thing. So, these are always, I'm always going to use it for swing trades. And you can see we finally got this cross here. And that just kind of ends up being your stop. It can even be here because you're using a longer time, a longer term 12, you got 12 days on the short one of these. You aren't going to get the super specific entry. However, when that cross occurs, if you're kind of able to get in right around the time of the cross and treat it as your stop, it can be a very nice one to use on longer time frame stuff. And then if well, now Coke's not going to be a good I think maybe Google did one. So if you do get short, we have a cross on Google here. If you do get short and for whatever reason you don't sell, it can always offer really nice stop outs. Let's see if we can find a little more consolidation. Like if this one you try to short this and then you get the push back up, well, you're only going to be risking a couple bucks against you. So this is one of the other main ones I will look at. And then that's the, my super go-to one. This one is one other one. I also use it mostly for crosses, the 13 and the 34. And why I like the 13 and the 34 is you can see because we're using a 50 period EMA, or instead of a 50 period, we're using a 34 period. It will pick up the cross a little bit sooner. You'll start getting these crosses and actually be able to kind of sneak into them a little bit earlier. So those are really the only ones I look at. But for me, I'm mostly using SMAs and using them as either targets or stop outs or things like that when I'm swing trading on longer time frames. As I said, of course, like things like the 200 stuff like that are amazing on shorter time frames, but just not what I use personally. 6 o'clock. So I see a few of you trickling out. Thank you guys so much. If you got to get out of here, we're gonna check one more. ABBV, huh? Yeah, this is the one you asked me about this last week. Still strong downtrend. Apparently failed the breakout. Not looking to get long on this thing until you see some strength above it or a retest down here, 157, 156 area personally. I do all my own levels. For me, I've just learned that, they're really easy to do. I know what I look for. I have some recorded lectures on support and resistance. And I like my levels. I trust my levels more than I'm going to trust some studies levels. And so I just like to do them myself. If you ever have questions about it or want to send me charts, feel free to send them my way. Yeah, Ricky, I hope so. Let's get a chip ripper. AMD is the one I want. I want the cheap AMD contracts tomorrow to just fly for me. Okay, well, if that is going to do it, thank you so much, everybody. Awesome turnout. I think I saw like 60 of you tonight. We love to see that. Thank you so much for being here. Uh, uh, yeah, thank you, Rudy, Joe. Thank you all. Thanks for always showing up to my lectures. I appreciate. I tend to get pretty good attendance, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. Yeah, Empanada, thank you for being here, man. Next time, let me know you're here, dude. Hop on the mic with me. Can I post the class right now? I cannot post the class right now, but hopefully it'll be posted for you by tomorrow or so. Joe's busy, man, and he does some good work for that. And so he gets to them as quickly as he can. Yeah, right on. Thank you all. Thank you. Kevlar, thank you. Cornbread, my man. Thank you. We will catch everybody tomorrow if that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you then. Have a good night.